But we also have a podcast running. And so if you guys want to listen to that, it's a little sheet over there. We got a lot of good people on it. That's about all I got. Also, we have an awesome sponsor here tonight. He's not here in the flesh, but we do have all his info over there. It's Gary with GSM and Beyond Burr. Gary does financing for fix, flips, commercial, really anything you could think of that you need financing for in the real estate world, he'll take care of you. And this isn't just a random sponsor. Gary helped me get my portfolio off the ground, and so I personally recommend him. His team's awesome to work with. They really kind of do the ins and outs. So a lot of people here I know use them, and I'll just take his info, have a conversation. So, all right. We're going to do our guest interview. We'll do a little outro, and then we'll just hang out and network. So tonight, we're going to have a great interview with Pawl Good. Pawl is not only a phenomenal investor and very good on the phone, but he's also an awesome friend, and so I'm just super excited that you're here. I'm going to let you do your own intro. So tell us your story.
Pawl Good. Live in Whitehall, local to Lehigh Valley for the last 20 years. Started investing somewhere around 2015. Went full-time somewhere in 2017, I think. I do a lot of flips. By a lot, I probably average somewhere between 7 to 8 a year. Not lighting the world on fire, but it certainly makes my bank account happy. So we do about 8 flips a year. It's all direct mail marketing. We do pick up rentals along the way. So I've done Airbnbs, self-storage, single family, industrial, some industrial flex. Let's see here. At the peak, I was up to 64 units, and that was at the beginning of 2024. Due to a divorce, had to sell off 75, almost 76% of that portfolio, which kind of hurt. So we're kind of rebuilding right now, which is fun and exciting. So yeah, I mean that's kind of where we're at now. Now we're just building stuff and analyzing deals and trying to make sure the maths and still flipping and having fun. And
I love it. All right, there's so much I want to go into. So first, though, I know there's a couple people here that are kind of getting started. So how did you start? Before all this stuff that you did, where did it begin?
I got divorced. That's the first time. Sorry, I might add. Sorry. And it's not me. It's not me, fellas. It's not me. It's not my fault. Not my wanting. Whatever. I'm a good guy. Can't you tell? I got divorced, and I was like, oh, I'm going to show her what she... So that's really what was it. At that point in time, that was probably 2013, 14. I felt like I'd lost everything. When you lose everything, you're only free to do anything you want. So I was like, I've got nothing to lose. So I remember distinctly thinking every millionaire I could ever think of owned real estate. That's all I knew. So I'm like, all right, let's figure out what this is about. So I started coming to a ton of these, for 2 years straight. Stuck in paralysis of analysis. I know all the knowledge, but I can't swing at the bat. A good mentor of mine was like, just jump out of the plane. Sew the parachute on the way down to the ground. I'm like, I don't know how to sew. She's like, oh, it's your falling. You'll figure it out. Trust me. So bought a 4-unit FHA financing. Didn't have the 3.5% down. Didn't have the 6 months of seasoning a bank requires you to have. Literally had nothing. And I'm buying a $450,000 property. The realtor at the time I was working with was so impressed with my knowledge and I guess really just my knowledge of how the numbers needed to work. He's like, I'll lend you the 3.5% down, 10% interest, 3 years. I'm like, sold. 2 weeks later, the bank's like, so you don't have any seasoning money. I'm like, what's that? Well, you need to have 6 months worth of mortgage payments in the bank. I'm like, I'll call you back. I called the realtor. He's like, bro, you don't even have that? I'm like, dude, no. He's like, shit, I don't lend that to you for the next 2 months, but that's going to cost you $1,000. I'm like, sold. So here I am at the closing table. This is early 2015, maybe. About a $450,000 property, zero money out of my pocket. They handed me a stack of keys and a check for $8,000, which was the rent prorations when you buy a multi-unit. And I was like, dude, I just bought a $500,000 property. You're giving me money? Oh, it's on, baby. It's on. And that's kind of really where it took off. I started direct mail and flips, and then rental properties and wholesale here, a couple there, and then I'd buy some big industrial building and I'd turn it into self-storage and let's build some Airbnbs. It just keeps growing, and
That's awesome. I love that you just figured it out, and I love that you just were like, I don't know, I'll just make it happen, and then you do. You figure out a way to make it happen, and
I,
it works out.
I never worry about the money I need to have when I buy a deal. Um, I don't I don't pick out the tires for a car I don't own, right? I just don't worry about those problems until they are an actual problem, right? If you can find a deal, all those problems go away pretty much on their own, right? I mean, if a deal makes sense, somebody will lend you the money. Um, just yeah.
I like it. So, at what point did you go full time? So that was your first deal. You're like, this thing works. And you start building. What did you do before that? How did that transition
Oh,
go?
you'll love this one. This is good. This is a classic office space kind of scenario. Um, so 2015 to 2017, I was probably flipping like, I don't know, maybe 5 a year while I was working, um, making like just insane money. I mean, you could be a moron in this business between 2017 and 2022 and make money. So like I was kind of riding that wave and I was like, this is amazing. So like 15 to 16, I was probably flipping 3 or 4 properties full time or while I have my job. And one day my boss came in, and this was the kind of job where like I was literally spending 85% of my time at my office desk, like looking at deals, analyzing deals, and like 15% on actual work. And my boss came in and requested me to do what is effectively like a TPS report. And I'm like, Andrew, I'm not going to do the TPS report. He's like, what do you mean you're not going to do it? I remember this conversation so vividly. So vivid. I'm like, I'm not going to do it. It's going to take me 6 hours, and you're not going to look at it. And I know you're not going to look at it because last month I did it. The last line of the report, I put, you're an asshole, and you haven't said anything about it, so it's a waste of my time. So I'm not going to do it. He's like, you're going to do it or you're fired. And I was like, you don't have to fire me. I quit. And I literally walked to the car. I remember the walk to the car was amazing. Amazing. The moment my car door shut, I was like, dude, I got to buy groceries. The mortgage is due next week. What the f have I just done? Dude, I've got like maybe 5 or 6 months worth of living in my bank account. Dude, what the f So like I panicked for a week, let the panic set in, and then I just got busy. Like I just got busy. Printing off mailers, knocking on doors, driving for dollars. Like, let's do this. Like, it's funny. I remember the drive home. I'm like, dude, how am I going to fill 40 hours in my week? Like, there's not enough for me to do. And by like the 6th week, I was like, dude, I need to work 80 hours a week. There's not enough time. So, I mean, that's kind of how it started.
That's awesome. So your first year you did good, right? Where you bought your first 4 unit. I guess that was the first year, and then you started flipping immediately after.
No, there was like a 2-year gap between the 4 unit and like a 2-year gap.
Okay, so once you started flipping, how did that go? Meaning, like, how did you market initially, and maybe how's that changed until now? And I don't know, just kind of talk to me about some marketing stuff in terms of the story.
Yeah, sure. So I do all direct mail marketing. I've done direct mail marketing since day one. I've done direct mail marketing because the mentor at the time that I latched onto did direct mail marketing out of Berks County. And some of you may know her or may have heard of her, April Crosley. She's big in Berks County. She's big into statistics and data, and I'm a data nerd. Like if the data says that you do X, then you do X. And she was able to demonstrate that like direct mail has such a predictable response rate. Like you can literally foreshadow exactly how many contracts you're going to get after spending X amount of dollars. And it's very true. So I think I spent like $4,000, printed off stuff in my home office, licked stuff. And this guy called me. He's like, listen, I want to sell my homes. I'm like, homes? Excuse me? I ended up buying 2 of his homes. Was able to so I got them under contract. I remember this. I got them under contract, and I called up my mentor. I'm like, now what? She's like, well, now you got to get them funded. And I'm like, how do I do that? So like literally, guys, jumped out of the plane, was like, I'm not gonna worry about the tires yet. So she gave me a strategy to do. I found private money, got them funded. And every time I came up with a problem, I was like, oh, well, now what? I'd go to somebody that knew what to do next, or I just figure it out. I would ask questions. Hey, how do I know this contract? This contractor wants 25% down. Is that normal? Oh, okay. All right, I'll tell him to pound sand. All right, cool, thanks. So I don't know, you just figure it out.
That's awesome. One of a couple things I love there. One, again, you just did it. Two, I like that you had a mentor that kind of helped you get started. I think so many of us that start moving and try to go quickly have to have a mentor. I had a mentor, and it just like changes everything. So I love that you mentioned that. And then I'm curious about funding. Again, a lot of people I know that are successful use private funding.
Yeah.
So if somebody's sitting here and they're like, "How do I do that?" or "What exactly does that mean?" What would you say to them?
That's a great question. I bet you'd be surprised to know, and I'll take a random guess, that in this room right now, there's probably at least $3 million of funds available just by the people sitting here. And if they don't have it directly, they know exactly how to get to it or who to ask, right? So there is money everywhere, right? The problem is there's no sign on you that says, hey, I have 300,000 on the bank. Hey, I'm worth 1.5 million. None of that's available, right? So what I would do is I would create a little one-page blurb about my project, right? I'm buying it for 50, I'm putting in 10, it's worth 100. Pretty simple. If you pay for it, I'll give you 10% or whatever it is. And I would email that to everybody. I would come to these, I would post that stuff on my forehead. I would talk to everybody that I could think of, right? I put it in Facebook groups. I posted it in the local meetup pages. Anywhere and everywhere I could think of. I mean, the deal that I was putting together was worth, at the end of that rainbow, 45 grand. How many weeks does it take you to work in your normal job to make 45 grand, right? So in my head, I was like, I'll work that amount of hours until I get this funded. Like, how hard are you willing to work for 45 grand? I'll work pretty hard for it. Like, I mean, then I would. I mean, but like, like, sorry. He knows what I mean. So like, it was like, all right, so like if I have to work 14 hours a day, I'm going to work 14 hours a day. I'm going to find a way to, so I did. And I think by like the second day I had it funded. Private money is somebody who has a retirement account, it's your Aunt Jenny that has $200,000 in a savings account making 3% interest. It's a guy that has an IRA account that is making 4.5% in some kind of fund index, and you come along and say, listen, if you let me borrow your money, I'll give you 10%, 12%, whatever the prevailing interest rate is. Your investment's protected because you're the lien holder, right? You're the bank. And I'm going to be able to do what I'm going to do, and you're going to be able to grow your money at 10%, and we'll just keep doing this. Private money is very relationship based, right? So
one of the things real quick that I think it took me a while to understand when I first got into real estate is I was like, why would somebody give me this money? Like, why does it benefit them, right? It sounds so stupid, but of course, because like you said, if they have 3 or 4% or they're not making much money, they're getting all these benefits. They're getting your 10 or 12%. They're growing their portfolio. Like there's so many benefits to them growing with you.
There's a big education that comes with private money though.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a successful real estate investor, chances are you've cultivated one or two or a handful of private money relationships, and they're very personal relationships, right? Mm-hmm. What they're doing with you, they're not doing for some random guy, right? A lot of the times that came with education, right? You have never gotten into the real estate business. You don't know anything about it. Don't know what mortgages are except for the one on your house. So there's a lot of hand-holding, a lot of education, and a lot of just explaining to them why their money is secured if you get hit by a bus tomorrow, right? Mm-hmm. So putting the time in on those relationships will make you millions down the road and save you thousands in traditional banking fees and requirements, right? So, back in the day when I did that first deal, there were hours of conversation that had to be had on this one deal. Mm-hmm. That same relationship today, I send them a text, hey, I need $325,000 in about 10 days. It's a 3-week project. We're probably going to do about 150. I'll send you the address this afternoon. And he's like, cool, let me know when we're closing. Like, he doesn't need photos. He doesn't even care anymore because you've built that reputation for success. So I mean, when you become a successful investor, real estate guy, we probably have 3 or 4 of those people in our pocket.
That's awesome. All right, I want to pivot a little bit. One of my favorite things that we always talk about, and you're one of the first people that I call all the time, is when it comes to sellers, when it comes to the conversations that you have, I genuinely think your talk tracks are so good. So let me back up before I ask that question. Kind of, when it comes to this stuff, a lot of it's about follow-up, right? So before I ask you about kind of what you say and how you approach it, we were having dinner earlier and we were chatting about this, and you were telling me the story that you followed up with somebody for, what was it, 3 years?
My longest lead follow-up to contract was 3 years.
And you called them every week for 3 years.
I called them every 10 days. Yeah, amazing. Every 10 days.
And I just say that because it's so important with the follow-up. And so anyways, how does that go? One, what do the initial conversations look like? And two, if they don't say, yes, I want to sell my house on the first conversation, what goes after?
So I'll answer that question. I want to back up just a minute and explain why I became so good at it, or why I think I'm really good at it. In fact, I know I'm really good at it. I remember I did a massive marketing campaign. I put all my eggs in one basket. I'm going to send out, it was like $5,000 worth of marketing, which to me at the time was a lot of money. I'm like, damn, this is a big risk. I sent out all this marketing. I dropped it all at one point in time, like all in the same week. And the phone blew up. I mean, when I say blew up, I mean, I must have gotten 23, 24 calls that first day, and it just didn't stop. And I panicked. I didn't know what to say. I wasn't prepared. I'd only done the research on marketing. I don't know what to say to these people. I didn't answer a single phone.
Oh, no.
I literally panicked. And I realized, well, we can't let that happen again. So I called my mentor. I'm like, I totally screwed up. Like, what do I do? Who do I need to listen to? I need to learn this next step, because this is a bottleneck in my business. And if I don't fix this, I can't move on to the next bottleneck, the next problem, the next what. So they turned me on to, at the time, a guy named John Martinez. He used to be big in the real estate sales scripting world. He's since gotten out of it. I think Jerry Green has taken over his sales platform. But I mean, I found this guy, linked up with him, and absorbed everything I could possibly absorb from him. And it just clicked. It made sense. So the sales tactic that I use in my world it's basically a push away technique, right? I'm not trying to convince you of anything. I'm trying to deter you from everything, right? I'm going to push you away, and if I'm left to be your only option, we got a deal. And if not, have a nice day. Stop wasting my time, right? So, I mean, it's a lot softer than that, but that's the basic tune of it. Yeah, I mean, when I go on an appointment, there's like 3 things that I do, and I'm very focused and very intentional about it. I do a lot of body mirroring, right? So if in the conversation they're cross-armed, I'm going to get cross-armed, and I'm not going to do it like right away, right? I mean, you play into it. If they're leaning, I'm going to lean. I'm constantly repeating the last 3 things they say, the last 3 words. It keeps them talking. If they have a funny laugh, it's a bit of showmanship. I got to be honest. There's a bit of showmanship in it, right? If they got a funny laugh, I'm going to adapt that funny laugh. Right? That's not my laugh. But we do business and are friends with people that we know, like, and trust. And the people we know, like, and trust are people that kind of act like us in some degree, right? So that's how I get them to kind of like relax around me. Like, right, wrong, or indifferent, it works really well for me. I bought a house from the guy that had a tick. He's like, yeah. So in 2004, we used to replace those. So like, I'm like, this guy has a tick. Like, I'm gonna come up with something like that. Works. I mean, I hate to say. So like during the conversation, I'd be like, so Jerry, how long have you had that problem? Right? He didn't even. I mean, but to him, that was normal conversation, right? The other thing that's really important, on that topic though, and this is probably more important and more subtle than anything, cadence. Right? You ever talk to a New Yorker? It's a different language. You ever talk to somebody from Kentucky? Buddy, speak it. I ain't got to say. Right? If you are from New York and you try to hold a conversation, and a big transactional conversation with somebody from Kentucky, like those conversations aren't going to blend, right? So you've got to find a way to either speed up you've got to find a way to match their cadence, whether it's slow and methodical, or it's fast and they ain't got time for anything. So you're talking about, so like that's important. That's huge. So body mirroring, which I'll add in cadence. And the third one is I do a lot of pushing away. That's a great house. Why haven't you talked to a realtor yet? They're either going to do one of two things every time you push away from somebody. They're either going to confirm why they should, or they're going to confirm why they shouldn't. One of those two things is going to happen, right? Why won't you go out with me? You're either going to confirm why you will or why you won't, right? Why haven't you? Why you haven't talked to a realtor about this yet? Why? Well, I don't like realtors. I don't want 35 people coming through my house. You know, whatever. Okay, great. Well, why don't you just sell it yourself? So I'm pushing you away, right? And you're gonna either go, okay, I like that idea, goodbye, or you're gonna be like, no, I don't want to. Let's talk. Gosh, I mean, have you thought about renting it out? Like, you got options here. Have you thought about renting? No, I don't want to rent it out. Okay, so, you know, I guess that's why I'm here. Yeah, that's it. So I use pushing away. And we'll say the fourth thing that I do, which is not faked, it's I genuinely care. Like, if you're an investor long enough, you're going to see that there are some really sad situations out there. And people get into some really tough stuff that just makes you want to cry. And you genuinely feel for these people. Like, so there's a genuine like care. Like, if I genuinely care about trying to solve this problem, this person's problem, and I put my care and excitement about the money that I can make in this deal on the back burner, and we don't care about that right now. If we just try to solve this person's problem and they genuinely pick up on that, not only will you be a better person, they'll feel better about the transaction, but 9 times out of 10, they will drop their pants on the price. Happens all the time. Yeah, I don't know if I really answered your question about like how I talk, but like it's a combination of those three things.
Well, so follow up. So how would you rate the importance of like details on the deal versus like the cadence and how you're speaking and mirroring them? Like, what is it more important to do those things?
Oh, way more. Holy cow. I won't even mention the deal, the house at all until they do. So when I'm in the house, I'm not talking about like, oh, Paul from Whitehall, I buy real estate. Do you have any idea which home is? None of that.
So you don't get on the phone and say, do you want to sell 123 Main Street?
No. Well, all right. So let me back. In-person appointments are a bit different than like cold calling appointments.
Of course, yeah.
So if you're referring to cold calling appointments, I might call up and, let's say it's I don't know. Give me a scenario.
But what I want to lead you into is just
Okay.
that, right? So like, I feel like everybody here gets these calls if you own real estate. Like, hi, this is Joe from XYZ company. Will you sell your property? And you're like, already like, no, fuck you. Like,
all right, so I'll give you this. So maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was driving for dollars, and I found this was a vacant house. Knocked on the door is vacant. All right, so let's find out what the neighbors think. I found the neighbor. Her name was Tiffany or whatever. Tiffany had lots to say about this abandoned house. Was happy to spill all the dirt. I'm like, cool, great. How do I get in touch with the owner? So Tiffany gave me the owner's phone number. I called the owner. Let's say her name was Jen. I called Jen. I'm like, hey, Jen, I'm Paul. Hey, listen, I was driving by Main Street. I think you have a house on Main Street, but I'm pretty sure you do. But do you have a neighbor named Tiffany? Yeah, I have a neighbor named Tiffany. Okay, so you do have the house on Main Street. So do you what's going on? Sorry, I'm interested in your home. I don't know what's going on with it. It looks like nobody lives there, but anyhow, Tiffany had a lot to say about your home, and boy, she's not a fan of your house. But look, I don't know what your story is, but gosh, could you tell me what's going on over there? I mean, I might be interested in buying it. Gosh, what's going on? What happened? And they'll start talking.
You can't not respond to that, which is what I love. Is it's so different. It's very unique, and I think just the way you approach that, it's just unique. And so
I've been told that it does two things. A, it sounds genuine, and I'll argue that there's always a hint of I want to say I play dumb, but I certainly play confused a lot of the times. I love playing confused. You play confused. I'll give you a perfect example. Not only works in real estate, it works with your significant other. And it works in all conversations. if they're saying something that you just don't understand, you just be like, I don't understand. I'm confused. And they'll elaborate on what you need to not be confused about, right? And then you can be like, yeah, but like when you say that, like what do you mean? Like with an up inflecting tone, like what do you mean? They'll be happy to explain to you again what it is they mean. When you do that with a seller, all day long. If you do that in combination with repeating the last 3 words they said, the heater broke? What? What do you mean? They'll tell you 34 minutes about why the heater broke. Your brother doesn't want to sell? What? What do you? Why? What? I'm confused. Well, he's the. So like there's confusion along with genuine concern about like genuine curiosity. Like that stuff goes like.
I just love that you play the game, and I love that you're paying so much attention to, again, like the little things that I think most people that are trying to get in aren't paying attention to. And I just think that's such an awesome thing.
Yeah,
that
they're
you bring
just ramming
out.
it like, hey, I'm Bob. I want to buy your house at Main Street. Great. Have a nice day, Bob. Hey, my name is Paul. This is going to sound like a really off the wall question, and yeah, totally okay if you hang up on me. But I was driving. Do you have a house on Berkshire Street? Yeah. Okay. Whew. All right. So I drive by that house every day, and I'm like, this is none of my business, and you're totally gonna think I'm an asshole. But like, what? Do you mind if I might be interested in buying it? But like, what's going on with that place? Can you like, are you willing to talk about it at all? Because like, man, I'm curious as hell as what you got going on there. I drive by it every day, and they'll tell you the story on what like is going on with it, or they'll tell you to fuck off, and that's fine too. Yeah, I mean, I've been following up with a woman for the last 3 years, right? I'm working a contract now that got under. She signed the contract in November. I know everything about her financial situation. It's not great. She's definitely extending and pretending her issue. Has missed mortgage payments. Is trying to do a loan modification. Has horrible credit. Can't move into the apartment complexes that she wants. Has a spouse that's living in the house that she can't stand. They're like at odds, but he's on the deed. It's like a fucking train wreck, right? But she has control over this house. Has signed a contract for me to buy it, and then like in November, like 2 weeks later, went dead silent. All right. I mean, I get it. You're back to putting your head in the sand. Totally get it. I'm okay with that. I'm going to call her every 10 days until she does one of two things. Either says, let's do this, or tells me to fuck off. And every 10 days, hey, Trish, it's Paul. I know I called you last week. I'm guessing you're probably not getting my voicemails. That's totally all right. But yeah, I'm really concerned. Like, I know like your situation's probably not getting better. I'm guessing it's probably getting worse. That worries me for you. But like, what? Like, listen, I'm gonna keep calling because like I'm genuine. I just want to help. I don't think you want help, but maybe you need. I don't know. Like, I guess I'll give you another call next week. But like, if you want to talk or chat, like I'm here. I still want to buy your house, and I still want to help you with all the things that you have going on. Which, gosh, must be overwhelming. Holy cow! Anyhow, talk to you next week. Give me a call. Bye. That's my follow-up call. Like, it's sarcastic. It's goofy. I sound like a fucking moron, right? I'm anything but threatening.
But it works.
It does. Oh, well, I mean,
maybe not Trish
maybe
yet,
we'll
but
see. But most of my follow-up is like that. It's just not.
I love it. All right, I have another question for you. I'm going to pivot again, but
Let's pivot.
we had a lot of conversations, and I really like the way that you handle contractors, and specifically like on your flips, how you deal with kind of your scope of work, how you deal with them, how you lead them. So can you tell me kind of what that process looks like, maybe some of the things that you set out to make sure it goes to plan?
I can. And I will be transparent and tell you that this idea came from Garrett Rhodes. If you know Garrett Rhodes, he probably gave this information to me like in 2016, and I always held on to it, and I perfected it ever since. So I sub out everything, right? I don't have an in-house crew. I don't have employees. I sub everything out. And I sub out painting, cabinets, flooring, electrical, plumbing. I sub it all out. For me, I'm really good at project management. It really helps me truncate my timelines so I can get multiple trades in there at the same time and get this job in and out, because every day I own a project is money it's costing me. But you will also find that it's very difficult to control a subs because they do what they want when they want, right? So I learned that that was a bottleneck in my business really quickly. I'd asked around. Garrett told me, I'd heard this like in 2014, him talking about it, and it just always stuck in my head. I use what's called an independent contractor's contract with my sub. So here's how this goes. Let's say I have a general contractor that's going to do all the like stupid bitch work, right? He's going to do the, I don't know, the finished framing or the finished, he's going to put the knobs on the kitchen cabinets, right? He's going to grout the backsplash tile, like I'll just whatever it is. I'll walk through the scope of work with him through that project, and I'll be like, all right, so James, how much is this going to cost? And he'll be like, I don't know, 10 grand. I'm like, all right, well, in my head, I budgeted for 13. So you feel light. I'm really good at budgeting numbers. So like you feel light. All right, so James, how about I give you 11? You do it for 11. Do it for 11 grand. That's more than you're asking. 11 grand. You good with that? I'm good. All right, how long is this going to take you? I mean, I'll be out of here in 4 weeks. 4 weeks. Okay, 4 weeks. That sounds good. I don't need you out of here until 5 weeks. So I'll give you an extra week. How about 5 weeks? I can do it in 5 weeks. Perfect. Perfect. All right. James, how many guys are you going to need to have here every day for this to get done at 11 grand in 5 weeks? Oh, I'm definitely going to have 3 guys here every day, Monday through Friday. Rock, can you do that? Oh, for sure. 100%. Are you positive? Yeah. All right, cool. Cool. So, James, here's what I want to do, man. I'll make a deal with you. You said 3 guys, 5 days a week, 5-week project, 10 grand or 11 grand, right? Cool. For every day you come in ahead of that 5th week, I'll give you $250 bonus. How's that sound? Bam, right? Right? You for sure. I gave you an extra grand and an extra week, huh? Right? You're gonna nail this, right? But for every day you go beyond 5 weeks, it's gonna cost you $250 off your final bill. Does that sound fair? Oh yeah, it's totally fair. No problem. They will sign that shit in a heartbeat. I can tell you in the course of my life, I've saved over $100,000 in final payment fees to contractors by doing this. And here's the problem. Here's the great thing. They can't get mad at you. Buddy, you set the timeline. You set the price. You told me how many guys you were going to have here. So when I show up on Tuesday at 12 and Frederico, Berto, and Robert aren't here, guess who's getting nailed for $250, buddy? You are. I think the most I've ever charged, there were 11. It was a 12-week project. He got whacked 12 times for nobody on site during the day. So that was $2,500. He came in a week and a half beyond schedule. So whatever that is, 10 days. So I saved $5 grand on that project. It might have been a $60,000 budget. He lost all of his profit. He was pissed. I'm like, dude, like, I didn't cause this. Am I doing something wrong? He's like, nah, it's my fault. I'm like, I fucking know that. Right? It's called an independent contractor's contract, right? Give him a bonus, right? Make it a crazy bonus. I don't care. Well, I don't care if he would have gotten it done in a week. I would have given him $1 grand. It's a less of an interest payment I have to make, right? Right? So it's a way to control. Like, listen, if you get this done, I'll pay you. Have at it. Because now I don't have to deal with the stress. I don't have to deal with the contractors. I can put the lockbox on the front door and get this marketed and rented or leased or sold or whatever. So, I mean, if you know you're going to make 30 grand on a project or 30 grand on a refi or have $30,000 in equity, would you give up $1 grand if you knew you got that project done super fast and ended the stress? I mean, I would. Like, next, moving on, right? So that's what I do. I love it. I love it.
So one, it sounds like you check up on them. Like you said, you're going there and you're saying, hey, there's not enough people on site.
I do.
Or you're just checking up on progress.
I do. So I would say on every project, I probably pop my head in like twice a week. I try to do it really once a week. I feel like every time I pop it in a project, I spend $1,000 in changes. I can't help it. Like, I don't like that door. Like, can we blow this? Like, what does it take to make this open span? Oh, TGI? Okay, maybe not. But every time I go to a project, I feel like I spend more money. But I'd say twice a week. And I'm never there when the guys are supposed to be there. So like if the contractor says, listen, I'm going to have guys here 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., great. I really only need you to have them here from like 10 to 2. Okay, cool. So if I show up at like, 3 o'clock and nobody's there, or like 1 o'clock and nobody's there, it's 250. If I show up at 10:15 and nobody's there, it's 250. I don't do it to save money on the contract. I just pop in whenever I pop in, and like people aren't there, and I'm like, dude, and I'll send them a text. It says something, and there's like 3 clauses in the contract, like not enough crew on site, beyond contract date penalty, whatever it is, or something like that. And the other one is lights on. If they leave lights on or doors unlocked, they get a penalty. I don't tolerate that shit. So like if I go there and like lights are on or the door's unlocked or whatever, or the crew's not there, I text them, hey, project not lock penalty, 250. And they're like, ah.
Do they ever not pay? Like, is there any scenario where they're like, yeah, I know I signed that, but like, I'm not paying that, or whatever?
Well, it's not that they're paying it, right? Like, it comes off your final bill.
Yeah, so you're just not paying
right?
it.
Like your last draw is your money draw, right? Sorry. Like, send me your invoice. There are penalties, right? Like, I mean, and I sent you every one. He's like, yeah, like, all right, like you don't dispute any of them, do you? How can they? Wait, like I've not only given you what you asked, I gave you then more than what you asked because I knew you were going to shit the bed, because you always do, right? Not that I don't want you to, but you do, right? So no, I just short pay the final invoice, and there's nothing they can say or do. Not a thing.
Awesome. I love it. There's so many things I want to go into, but I want to start wrapping up. So I have a couple questions that I love to ask every guest. And here's my first one. So what separates top performing investors from the rest of the crowd?
That's a great question. I'd say it's probably a handful of very small things. It's number one, the will and desire to not give up, regardless of however big the obstacle in front of you is. And you will be they'll put fucking buildings in your way. Like that you're like, I can't go on this. You can. It take you a minute. That's huge, right? Deal flow's low. All right, go knock on doors. Your marketing not working, call everybody you know and find out what they're doing. It's just pushing through whatever problem you're going to have. That's the big one. I'd say the second one is persistency and consistency in your business, whether that's marketing. For me, it's always marketing, whether it's follow-up. I think those are the two things. I mean, for me, that's what it's always been.
Love it.
I'd say the third thing is not get divorced twice, too. That helps because that'll fucking wreck a portfolio.
Just a suggestion, maybe.
It's just a suggestion or a prenup, yeah, maybe one of those.
But it got you started.
Yeah, it got me started. That'll wipe me out. That's great.
All right, so what's a daily habit that contributes to your success?
I have ADD, and honestly, I think it's really played to my benefit in our business because when it comes to projects, I get really excited about them, and then halfway through, the luster starts wearing off. I'm like, what's next? So it keeps me shopping for new segments of our market, right? So single families, then multifamilies, then like, hey, what's this Airbnb thing about? Hey, then it's industrial flex space. Then it's been self-storage. Then it's been some warehousing and redevelopment. And I'm starting to look at mobile home parks. It's never ending, but like, it's always like something new and exciting. And like, because when you do this for a while, I mean, Nick and I were talking about this. It's just the luster. It's just no longer. It's like tying the same pair of shoes over and over again. Like you do it with your eyes shut, with music blaring, and there's no excitement about it, right? Yeah, like that.
I like it.
Yeah.
What's a piece of advice you'd give to yourself if you're starting again?
Hold more property.
Hold more.
Hold more. In the early days, like you're kind of living like mountain project to project. Maybe you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. Like I would have done a better job at figuring out how to keep that property and get money against it. Whether it was a HELOC, a line of credit, I would have done that more. I say that because if y'all know Joel Pena, at one point in time, I wholesaled him a property for $15,000. This is like 2018. That thing might have needed 15 grand. You might have had 30 grand into it. That bitch is worth like 160 right now. I'm like, oh. So like, there's things like that I would have just held on to a little longer.
I
But
like it. Favorite real estate or business book?
oh, yeah, for me, like I gotta say, Never Split the Difference.
Hmm.
I love that one.
That's
I
Chris
listen to
Voss,
it. Yeah,
right?
it's Chris Voss. I listen to that constantly.
Anybody read that? Very cool. It is.
Yeah, I
Love
like
it.
that. The tactical empathy in it. Yeah, it's
Very good.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. Last question. What's your favorite part of real estate investing?
The freedom. Um, that's probably the number one. Number two is the money. Yeah, it's the freedom. And I wake up at 10 most days, honestly. Some days I put a nap in there, some days I don't. Some days I go to the gym, some days I don't. I'm a late night person, so I'll tuck the kids into bed and I'll stay up till 2 o'clock. Usually I do most of my work from 10 p.m. to like 2 a.m. in the morning. That's where I surf most of the internet, surf most of the MLS. Yeah, it's the freedom to do what I want when I want. It's the money, and it's all based upon your effort and your willingness to dig in and push through. You can make millions of dollars in real estate. You can also lose your ass if you just sit there and watch everybody else work. It's the only business. It's just one of the businesses that I know that like the amount of success you have is a direct correlation to the amount of effort you're willing to put into it.
Love it. All right. With that said, Paul, thank you so much for being here. So let's give Paul a round of applause.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.